We're Akia, and just as a way to quickly introduce ourselves, we are a business that facilitates the two-way communication between vacation rental managers and their guests, and we do that typically through text messaging. And what we're going to be talking about today is how to utilize both our software and Escapia software to take all of the headaches out of your day-to-day. And so the way we have sort of set up this webinar, it is intended to be a little bit conversational. And so at the bottom, if you see the little hand raise icon, if you have a question throughout today's session, please go ahead and click that button. It'll virtually raise your hand, and we'll call on you to ask your question, or you can just go ahead and type it in chat, and we'll read it back aloud for folks to hear. Okay. And so at a high level, Akia is a customer relationship management platform, otherwise known as CRM. And if you think about CRM, you oftentimes think about companies who operate a little bit more in the sales or marketing space. And so these are companies like Salesforce, HubSpot, Zoho CRM, and they're not really, I would say they're not really what we do. We are what I would consider more on the hospitality side of things. And so our focus is not necessarily on customers and business, but rather it's on guests. And so we're a guest relationship management platform because while it's a business's job to deal with customers, and I understand that a lot of us feel like we're probably dealing with our customers from time to time. Us in the vacation rental industry, us in hospitality, it's our job to welcome our guests. Okay. And so when I talk about welcoming our guests, what goes into that, what that all means, generally things like having an understanding of whether or not a guest is going to make it in their room. Have they signed off on all of their paperwork? Do they have their door code, arrival instructions, driving instructions, things of that nature? Making sure that they get all of the information for their arrival is key to having peace of mind. And there are, I would say, Akia and Escapia here are your friends with respect to peace of mind. We're going to do everything that we can to ensure that you are comfortable with your guests' arrivals. And so all of the information that you're sending today, likely over email, has a single great threat. And that threat is the updates tab in Gmail. And all of that important critical information that your guest needs in order for their arrival is actually getting buried in this folder. And Google, to their benefit, has done a little bit more to make some of your information a little bit more prevalent to your guests, but it's probably not enough to maintain peace of mind. And so the question of whether or not people are receiving your content, especially over text messaging, is generally goes unanswered day to day. And so you spend a lot of time figuring out whether or not people are reading your messages or receiving them, which is why we here at Akia utilize text messaging to communicate a lot of this critical information to your guests. And the industry metrics don't lie. So 95% of texts that are sent to your guests are read within 5 minutes. 46% of those texts with links are clicked through within 5 minutes on Akia. It is already outperforming the status quo by almost 20x. The current click-through rate is 2.6% for email, and that's after they open it. So you can already imagine why people are not seeing your messaging. People are maybe have to send it multiple times, or if you know that they haven't opened it, you're calling them to ensure that they're receiving some of this content. Okay, and your guests vastly prefer it. So I've gone ahead and broken down the results from a recent study into two cohorts here. And so guests of all ages, almost 70% of them will prefer texting as opposed to a phone call or email. And then I have another cohort, as the younger generation grows older. I got youngsters here listed. Anybody who's younger than 44 years old, love texting by a 3 to 4 ratio. And the top end of youngsters there is a little bit high because it makes me feel a little bit better. Okay. So with respect to your communication going out to guests over email, maybe you're thinking about your website. It's all relatively rich form content. It's all things that you've put together that speak to your brand, speak to your aesthetic. And when you think about text messaging, you might think of this. And to its credit, as engaging as it is, it leaves a lot to be desired. It is a text-based format, and there's not really much of the way with respect to just making this a little bit more about you, making this a little bit more welcoming. This is where Akia steps in. And so Akia has developed a technology called mini apps. And mini apps are a way to transform these boring, plain text messages into something a little bit more rich and a little bit more engaging. And so you can build and automate workflows that you guys need and have them sent over text message. And the beautiful thing about mini apps is that they don't need to be downloaded. Nobody needs to log in anything. It's a link inside a text message, and the guest can immediately get started with filling out a rental agreement, reading a guidebook that's personalized to the property that they're staying in. And mini apps are beautiful, engaging, they're personalized. You don't need a software developer to build one. You don't need to know how to write any code. You can build out all of these complex dynamic mini app workflows for you and your guests by yourself and have them distributed through text. Okay, so I'm gonna step through a quick example of what one of these guest journeys might look like. And so in this example, I have built out a digital rental agreement. And so I might add a signature pad. I might add an upsell for wine and charcuterie board. I'll lay out my rental policies, try and capture email, identification. All of the reservation information is pulled in directly from Escapia. So you don't have to manually put these together, fill it out, or anything that you guys might do and send over email. But instead, it's just going to automatically send and distribute over text messaging. Over 90% of these get filled out within 8 hours of receipt. As it gets closer to arrival, we might send a digital guidebook, and you can build this using our mini apps editor. And so again, all of this is personalized per property, per guest. Display the Wi-Fi information, a photo of the unit, parking information, maybe unit-specific instructions. Maybe the fireplace is a little difficult to figure out. You can put that together, and the system will automatically send and personalize itself based on whatever property has been assigned to that guest within Escapia. And then the other things outside of the arrival workflows that might be a little bit cumbersome to your day-to-day, things like sending door codes. We talked about the house manuals, agreement reminders. Some people don't complete that rental agreement, and if you're spending time during your day looking for who those people might be, sending follow-up emails, giving them phone calls. These are little things in your day-to-day that can eat up hours and hours a week. And then arrival instructions, again, for peace of mind, to make sure that that the guest knows how to get to the property. And then there are things like if the guest checks out, a day early, or if they on the day of checkout, you need to notify a housekeeper. These are just administrative things that you have to do all the time that eat up your day. And so Akia has a solution to all of this. And so Sending door codes now can be done automatically right before check-in time, as long as all agreements have been signed. House manuals are sent based on the guest's assigned property. Agreement reminders, you can have them automatically sent before 1 week before check-in if they still haven't been completed. Maybe set 2 up if you need. This is how we guarantee that everybody is going to be receiving these rental agreements and turning them over before they show up without you having to chase. Arrival instructions can be automatically sent on the morning of. Texting a housekeeper can be automatically sent after a guest checks out through text. And you can set up all of these workflows within the platform. They're integrated into Escapia. And so if you're spending time out of your day to figure and to run through all of these processes, Akia can take care of that for you. Okay. And we'd also like to announce the launch of a new records tab that we have in our interface. This is going to allow you further peace of mind. And so you can build custom dashboards that allow you to have views of who's coming for the day, add columns to help you understand who has received an agreement, who has signed it, who still needs to take a look at it. Maybe you need to look at all bookings within the last 30 days or everybody who's currently in-house. You can build all of these custom dashboards just for yourself so that you can have peace of mind and you can quickly glance at these dashboards to have a solid understanding of what's going on at the property. Okay. We also have a failover mechanism. And so as valuable as text messaging is with respect to engagement rate, that isn't to say that it's the silver bullet to ensure that guest delivery happens. Email is definitely not the silver bullet here, but a combination of text messaging, WhatsApp, and email are enough to get you to a point where, yeah, you have a pretty good sense that guests are going to be receiving all of the messaging that you have put together for them. And so in this instance, a text message may go out. If it fails because the guest is international, as an example, we'll send it through WhatsApp, and failing all of those mechanisms, we'll send out an email instead. Okay. And so this point bears repeating, but over 90% of rental agreements that we send out are completed within the first 8 hours. And this is oftentimes sent at booking or shortly after booking. It's not just me repeating this metric up here. We have a number of testimonials from other Escapia customers who see a very similar thing. And so Hunter Simpson, he says it's amazing to get a rental agreement signed back so fast after the booking has been confirmed. Rhonda Tenor says that Akia is ensuring that the right guests are receiving all the necessary and accurate information for their arrival so they can enjoy their vacations as soon as possible. Again, we're in the business of hospitality, and so getting guests to enjoy their vacations as quickly as possible is definitely a top priority. Okay, and so key takeaways from this session here. Number one, text messaging is key to guest engagement. Number two, Akia will automate away common administrative tasks, give you time back every week. And then number three, you can rest easy knowing that guests are receiving the information that they need for their vacation. Okay. This concludes the session. If anybody has questions, we'll open up the chat for Q&A. So go ahead and you can chime in chat if you have questions. If you want to ping us directly, we do have an email address set aside as well that you can send us information to. Thank you. Okay. Achilles, you have a question? You can unmute yourself or you can type it in chat.
Yes. Hi, sorry. Yeah, sorry, I came in late, but I saw in the session, before I joined the session, that I saw it's being recorded. Would I be able to get a copy of that recording so that I can show it to my client from start to finish?
Yeah. We'll send out, as long as you're registered for the webinar, we'll send out a link to download the recording after this session.
All right. Yeah, I think I am. I mean, I'm here in this webinar so far, so
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think all right. Thank you.
Great. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? So Friday is asking about cost. Yeah, so there is a cost to the platform. Although we are closely partnered with Escapia, we are still a separate company. If you want to get more details about pricing, we'll reach out over email and get a little bit more information about the property, and then we can give you a quote. Any other questions? Okay, all right. Well, thank you guys. If you guys have, if anything else comes up, go ahead and send us an email to sales@akia.com. And we'll be in touch with a couple of folks who had questions after. Thank you guys for attending, and have a good rest of the week.
Thank you.